Welcome back to the Wav Podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the rogues who create it. San Diego ComicCon is back, and it will be the lead story in this new segment. Aaron, do we have the graphic that I love so much? Which I actually don't love it as much with the words on top of it. I just love this little image. Oh no, that's the San Diego Comic. No, all around the rogue. There. Look at that little tiny globe. I was telling everyone off air that so to our listening audience, if you're listening to us on the podcast, it is just a tiny styrofoam globe, and I just think it's the funniest little thing because we're going around the world, but it's all around the rogue, and it's a little rogue thing. I said no one else would find this funny but me.
Gotcha.
I don't know. It tickled my funny bone.
Okay. All right.
I don't know why. There's something about it. It's like put the graphic up again. Put it up again. I want to see it again.
I like Aaron's comment.
Look at that little globe. Look, there it is. It's all around the globe, all around the rogue. All right. We are going to span the rogue world and talk about all the cool topics. And that is the first one right off the bat is San Diego Comic-Con 2022. Hollywood Reporter came out today with a guide to the biggest panels. I'm going to take you back to 2019 a second. 2019 didn't have Marvel. It had a lot of these companies putting on their own cons at this point. You had D23, which was a big, which was basically Disney's answer to Comic-Con, but it was only Disney-related stuff and Marvel-related stuff. They put on a huge event. You had DC Fandom kind of emerge when it was virtual because of COVID. And there was a definite buzz in the air in 2019. I was there where it's like, are these studios going to continually send their talent? And how big is it? How big of a deal is it to go to San Diego? And it was a palpable, feeling in the air of like, you know what? Add to that just the number of Comic-Cons that were created in the past like 5 years. Wizard World before they went defunct. They'd have a Comic-Con every day practically. It felt like Fan Expo was getting into the game as well too. So it was an oversaturation of the con market. We used to call it the con bubble. When's the con bubble going to burst? And 2019 definitely, there was an air of that where I don't think San Diego's going to be what San Diego used to be. Fast forward to 3 years later, post-COVID, or at least post-lockdown of COVID, it's back. And Marvel and DC will be big there. Amazon Prime, they're there. HBO, Paramount, Apple TV, Netflix. All the heavyweights. Marvel is going to be dropping the Black Panther trailer. That, I think, to me, if I had to pick one and predict, what's going to be the most talked about, thing that is premiering there, I feel like that's got to be it, right?
Well, that's got to be it amongst all the things we've heard are supposed to be out, but you don't know what they're going to do that's going to be completely off the pale, Yeah. So,
unless they have a Chadwick Boseman hologram, I don't know. We can only go by what
macabre, dude. But I'm saying something. Maybe something has nothing to do with Black Panther. That they're going to release. They're going to announce that Henry Cavill's coming back from Man of Steel 2, or some crazy stuff. You have no idea what they're planning to announce. And this is, as you say, just to piggyback on what you were talking about. This is the first time they're doing this in 3 years, almost in 2 years, in 2 solid years. So it's going to be red letter, man. Like everybody's going to be dialed, to 11 to to attend and find out what's going on. So I'm sure there's a lot of unforeseen surprises that are going to spring up.
Yeah,
that's going to come out of there.
Marvel Studios MCU has a number of big titles, including Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and the panel will almost certainly include teases about the MCU's future. So that's going to be pretty cool, obviously. Like you said,
which everyone is saying is in doubt anyway. So it'll be wonderful to see if this changes the narrative at all.
That's the funny thing about these Comic-Cons too, right? If you pull it off, great. That's the one good thing. You get goodwill and in buzz and anticipation for a number of months. Now, it doesn't always translate into ticket sales.
Nothing translates into anything anymore. It's just that you got the buzz, right?
Correct.
If you get great buzz, doesn't mean by December you're still going to have buzz, and there's not going to be a reason for everybody to doubt everything that you said in August. But
next week we're going to do a Who Won the Weekend, which we've done before with this. So we're gonna pick a winner for the weekend, and that's all it is. They win a little trophy that we don't have. It'll be that little globe.
Yeah, you give it the styrofoam globe. Paint it. You have to paint it gold.
Yes, I'll paint the little globe. Yeah, the little globe gold. Yes. I will not say that 5 times fast because that just won't work.
Little gold.
Prime Video is going to have Lord of the Rings there, the Rings of Power. So that's going to be pretty cool. You're going to have the showrunners for the show, talking about that. And what's cool about Amazon, they generally do really cool setups outside the convention center. I remember when they were promoting Jack Ryan, and it was like a helicopter crashed. Like they set up a helicopter like crashing in the middle of it didn't actually crash.
I know, yeah. But
you walk, they rent it out,
nice.
And it was pretty sick, man. Like it was a sick,
So take pictures, man.
Oh, I will. I will.
We want copious. Aaron and I want copious pictures when you return from your excursion.
I'm not a picture guy though.
No, you gotta take pictures though. You gotta become a picture guy, man.
I know. It's funny too, because part of me, like when I look back on like college photos that other people have taken, and I'm like, I'm so glad you guys took these pictures. And I'm like, damn, I almost wish I took more pictures because it'd be kind of cool. But then at the same time, I'm like, I have no interest in taking pictures. I hate.
You have a phone that can take pictures. Take pictures.
No, I do. I know. I go boop 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 boop, and I'm done, and I go back and.
No, don't be done. You have to acclimate yourself. This is the new world, man. This is the first Comic-Con in 2 years, and you're in attendance. You're the man on the ground. You're the one.
Well, I was at New York Comic-Con. That just wasn't the same though. This is the first. I think this is definitely the welcome back. This is
San Diego Comic-Con in 2 years. All right, so you're the guy. You're the man on the scene.
Yes.
Right. You're the eyes on. You've got to.
I'll post them to my Patreon account, and you have to pay me $1 to see them. Then I'll do it. Yeah. I'm gonna capitalize on it, baby. Capitalize.
Never mind.
Warner Brothers, never one to let MCU get all the glory. DC will bring its own thunder, with Dwayne Johnson offering a look at his anti-hero flick Black Adam, and a Shazam sequel, Fury of the Gods, starring Zachary Levi, Helen Mirren, and Lucy Liu. Decidedly missing is The Flash, fronted by the embattled Ezra Miller. Warner says it is not yet touting 2023 films, though in years past it has shown footage of projects as far as 16 months away from release. So
can't blame them though.
No, they are in such a. I mean, what in this day and age where people do not separate the art from the artists anymore. Like the audience, or at least the audience online anyway, does not tolerate your off the camera antics. Right? They you can be.
Well, if they're vile, if you're accused of vile stuff.
Oh, don't get me wrong. He's in another stratosphere.
Yeah.
I'm building up to that. To that. My point. What I was about to tell you was that in this day and age where they don't separate the art and the art from the artist, you can just be like quote unquote insensitive, or you could be, you could say something that's misrepresented or misquoted. Or you could even just attend a place you shouldn't attend, and people will be like, "Oh, you're such a jerk! Didn't you know that was, that's where such and such happened?" And then you have to start apologizing. Ezra Miller is legitimately in another stratosphere when it comes to any of this stuff. I mean, I almost, you almost wonder how they could even release the film. Now, luckily, the film's not supposed to come out till 2023. I think it was supposed to come out, March.
I don't know, but I'm sure it's sooner than when they're planning to pull it out. Unfortunately for them, if they had been able to release it, when originally planned, when they delayed it because of COVID,
sure,
they'd be past this controversy. They'd have made the money off of it and be past this controversy by now. And then the controversy would come up, and they'd be like, "Well, we're not making Flash 2. Oh well, but we made $1 billion off of Flash, so we win." But no.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a Tom Cruise situation for them this time out.
No, it's really not. And the funny part about it is, out of all the DC films, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most, because it has Michael Keaton coming back.
Yep.
and Ben Affleck coming back.
Yeah,
So
it's too bad for Michael Keaton. Like, oh man, I was
well,
just about to get right back in the arena, and this is how
no,
I
because
come
he
back
had
in.
Spider-Man. I feel like he's above
No,
that
I
a
mean,
little
as
bit.
Batman, he wants to get back in the arena.
I
He
know.
can be the Vulture and Spider-Man in the MCU and Batman in the DCEU,
I know.
right? Or whatever they call that now. And that's a ticket to print money. But now, no.
HBO is going to be there. Game of Thrones at Hall H with the prequel House of the Dragon. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Paramount 3 years ago, Tom Cruise surprised Comic-Con with the first trailer for the now $1 billion grossing Top Gun Maverick. This year, the studio brings Dungeons and Dragons. So that's starring Chris Pine. I didn't know there was a Dungeons and Dragons movie coming in. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah.
It cannot be worse than the last 2 Dungeons and Dragons movies that they actually did.
Okay.
One of them, which with Jeremy Irons, it's one of those direct-to-video, not really direct-to-video, but they're pre Lord of the Rings. We should take epics seriously mentality.
Okay,
So
well then you can forgive them a little bit for that then,
nah,
right?
you can't. They're really not good.
So,
I hope it's indicative of the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, which is still a cult favorite, from the 80s, but we'll never know.
This one's an interesting one. Apple TV is going to be there. The streamer takes its first trip to the con with a full lineup of panels, the most notable being the Emmy-nominated Severance, with Ben Stiller and castmates Adam Scott, Britt Lauer, and more participating. What's that old saying? The one thing that doesn't belong. I kind of feel like Apple's kind of like, yeah, we're here. What's this Comic-Con thing all about? We've got these really serious actors in this great, critically acclaimed show, and you guys are dressed up like Spider-Man. It's like, I don't know. Like,
well, I mean, they've also had like Westworld there, and that's pretty much a heavy drama. That's not a comic.
Very sci-fi though. Like Severance isn't sci-fi. Severance has nothing supernatural to it in any way, shape, or form, as far as I understand.
Don't go to that panel then.
We don't
expect pictures.
Ironically, that's the one I'm going to go to because I feel like that's the one I'll be able to get in. Be like, that's which one can you get in? The one that no one knows anything about, nor has anything to do with anything anybody is there to see.
Gotcha. All right. Never mind.
Netflix.
Good luck with that.
The pricey Sandman series will conjure up stars and produce. I'm not a line guy. Hang on. I'm not a line guy. I will not wait in Hall H lines. Like I just won't.
Would you take a picture of the Hall H line for the crowd?
Ooh. So you've never done San Diego, huh?
No.
Oh, bucket list, baby. You got to do it at least once. You don't even have to go to the show. You just have to come walk around.
I don't like conventions.
What's that?
I don't like conventions, and San Diego's the mother of all conventions. So that's like, it's the anti-Hassan convention.
This I don't know. I think this is the one you definitely have to do. Just as bucket list, just to go kind of see it and then kind of like leave. Well,
I understand what you mean by that, but very hopefully I am nowhere near trying to fulfill my bucket list. So
it's not a question of you fulfilling your bucket list before your time runs out. It's fulfill your bucket list now while there's still a San Diego Comic-Con to have.
Also, no disrespect intended, but you can't put items on my bucket list. You really can't.
I can make carefully careful recommendations.
Yes, and I will take it under heavy advisement.
Consideration.
Yes, yeah. But you can put this item on your bucket list.
You're a contracted member of the show, and in that contract it says you're not even a contracted member.
Please, there are a number of amenities on the contract list that must be added to my bucket list before I sign. I understand. I didn't read the fine print again.
That's the problem.
My
Got to read the fine print.
Understood.
Yeah. So anyway, there is a Hall H. It's not even just a line for Hall H. People camp out overnight.
Well, I know the tenacity of fans. So I mean, like the only thing I don't know about San Diego, I've been told about it, but I don't know it because I haven't experienced it firsthand. Is the size is astronomical, and so everything is bigger and better.
Yes.
So if I know the fans of conventions, because we have extensive experience with conventions prior to the now times, everything is probably dialed up to 11. So if San Diego is a convention that's dialed up to 11, San Diego fans or show fans
Mm-hmm.
also have to be equally dialed up
Yeah.
all the way to the max. So, I only say take pictures. I don't say participate.
Well,
I just
friend of the
say,
show,
walk by, do a drive by, snap a shot so we understand the scale and the scope, and then get out of there.
you ready for this though? Friend of the show, Victor Dandridge, and I gotta actually kind of applaud him on this.
Right.
In 2019, I think it was 2019. Yeah, I think it was because I was in that Spartan room. I say that because I ended up staying in a hotel that was basically like, I feel like it's where Eliza Dushku stayed when she was playing Faith in Buffy, where Buffy walks in the room and is just like, huh, nice place. And she's like, yeah, Spartan. It's a very Spartan room, meaning it was pretty terrible. He went to San Diego without booking a hotel. And his plan was to sleep on the Hall H line so that both he could see the, Hall H. He would be in Hall H for the Marvel announcements. So maybe it was 2018 then. And he did this. In fact, yeah, I guess it was. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You hear about those stories and you realize that there are people out there with a level of dedication that you will never achieve. That you just will not. It's mythical level of dedication.
Yeah, but he killed two birds with one stone. He's like, A, it's a free place to stay, and everything out there is super expensive. And B, I'll get to see all the cool stuff in Hall H. It's like that's a win-win. I actually had him. I was like, dude, I have a room. Just come. And he one of the nights he crashed in my room because I was like, dude,
he couldn't take it. He had to take a break. That's a plan.
Funny thing about
that is a plan that I would come up with. I would come up with a plan. But there's a big deal. There's a big difference between coming up with a plan like that and executing a plan like that. Because one night on the Hall H line, and I'd be like, Mike, what do you got for me?
Well,
I gotta get out of here.
Though, I told him he could stay in my room, and the first thing he said is, "Are we gonna watch this?" I was watching TV. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't say that, but it'd be funny if he did. Because I said that to you on a Wizard World Chicago trip where I busted.
No, that story's coming up.
Yeah,
that story's coming up in the Dan Leister interview. So yeah, everyone will know it. Everyone will get your reference.
Netflix has Sandman coming and has that. And pretty much that's it. I think there's definitely a buzz about this show, and I can't wait. I'm hopping on a flight tomorrow. I'll be gone through Sunday.
I have no doubt it's going to be pretty awesome. Pretty spectacular, and it probably there'll be a lot of goodwill there because everybody will just be happy to be there again, right?
Yep.
So the jerketry, the assholery, bing, will probably be at a bare minimum, if at all, and you'll be able to probably get around. There'll be a lot of people trying to make up for their financial losses for the last 2 years. And there'll probably be a lot of deals around, or there'll be a lot of people willing to make deals or willing to be as inclusive as possible in panels and whatever, so that they can get the publicity of hot interest in things. So if you're shrewd and you could get around that place nimbly, then you probably would be able to have an enhanced experience, larger than usual kind of experience there.
I think so. Well, I will give you my full report. We will talk about who won the weekend next week. That'll be that as well too. Real quick, we didn't discuss The Boys, I think, from last, so we're all around the road. We're just going to bounce around a little bit. There's also a story real quick. I'm going to let you pick because we want to get to our guest, Dan Leister, and wrap this up in some sort of time. Do you want to talk about The Boys, or would you rather talk about we'll hold off on talking about Miss Marvel until you see the last episode, even though I spoiled it for you off air before we got in, because I just assumed you watched it. I of everything that was going to happen, I figured you.
I know, but like so many things happened, and also last week, what we do in the Shadows premiered, and that took precedence over most of my attention. So
yeah,
so I'll get to it. I'll get to it by next week.
Do you know what I'm watching on the plane?
San Diego, I will have seen it.
Do you know what I'm watching on the plane? Chloe's
watching?
Movie. I got it queued up.
I will have seen that too by the time you get back, so that we can have a discussion about that, a very brief discussion about it also.
So we can chat about The Boys and the finale of The Boys because we've both seen it, or Love and Thunder director Taiko Watiti defends his comedic Thor. He has no regrets over what he did in the movie, and a lot of people were saying that it might have been a little off in terms of the tone. That it was super super funny, even though there was a lot of darkness and cancer, and definitely. I watched. Shout out to Screen Rant's pitch meeting. He's still one of my favorite. I think that's one of my favorite, YouTube things on the planet. Shout out to Victoria Bennett for, AKA Bevan for tuning me into that. And he's like, got a great movie for you. There's gonna be tons of jokes. Great. Jane Foster has cancer. Oh, we should probably lighten up. Nope. Gonna be tons of jokes. And that seems to be the thing. It has one of the lowest rated MCU scores on Rotten Tomatoes.
So you've decided to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder then?
Do you want to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder, or would you want to talk about The Boys?
I'd rather talk about The Boys, because I've already said everything I wanted to say about Thor: Love and Thunder.
Got it. All right.
I've defended it.
See, I managed to sneak that in there. That was pretty good, though.
I know.
That
wasn't really sneaking, dude. I just sat here and watched you do it. So there was no sneaking.
So I got asked this. I got asked, The Boys, what do I think? I got asked by fellow Rogue Matter folks. And I got to tell you, I think this season was not my feel, again, as I have illustrated in previous podcasts, I rate things by what is my overall feeling when I leave the theater, when I turn it off. Am I still as into it as I was? I got to say that the 9/10 of The Boys was right on par. It got into a great groove to where I binged a few episodes in a row because I was behind on a couple episodes. It manages to do what a good streaming show does, which is, again, by the end of the episode, it makes you want to, click the next one on. And so it had all that. Herogasm, we talked about that. It was directed by a friend of mine. I had no idea. That was fantastic. I congratulate him. He did a great job on the Herogasm episode. Herogasm was a little disappointing, but the actual, contents of the show, not the episode, but the buildup of what Herogasm was, because I kept hearing Herogasm, this and that and this, and it's like, oh, okay, it's just a hero orgy. Like, I don't know. I thought there was something, where it would be even more. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, that has nothing to do with the show. Just that's more about expectations being built up. The only issue I had with it was that, allegorically speaking, they tried to cram too much into like a few characters. They had the allegory for Fox News. I thought that was pretty cool. They had, I thought it was interesting with, Homelander being the, allegorical QAnon leader, Trump, MAGA kind of guy, which I thought was fine. I thought Mother's Milk's rival, the man who ended up marrying his, or is with his now ex-wife, I guess. Yeah, it has to be ex-wife at this point, or divorced or separated, whatever. Like they tried to use him as the man on the type of person that would get swept up into this conspiracy QAnon type, right-leaning MAGA type quality. And I just, but at the same time, he was also like the rival to Mother's Milk, but he's in which is not a typical kind of marriage. I just thought they tried to cram too many allegories into this one character. This is a minor, point to it. The only reason I bring it up is it's the very last scene, to where, if you haven't seen it, Homelander essentially kills a protester. Well, not essentially. He kills a protester, and the QAnon types that are following him are all like, yeah, and who's there but Mother's Milk's rival? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I was at that point, I just felt it was like, all right, it was a little over the top. It was the last thing I saw. And I'm like, I felt like they just tried to cram too many allegories into one character at that point, for him to be the one. Like, I can't see him being the guy who, is like lock, stock, and barrel into this, like to the point where he's the one cheering. Like, he is literally the one being like, yeah, good job. And I'm like, wow, okay, they're really going on. They're really up. And again, I don't mind the sentiment of it. I just didn't like it all being into that one character. I feel like they crammed a lot of like things into that one character, and then that's my like minor, quibble with it. I didn't, and honestly, if it wasn't the last scene, I probably wouldn't even have brought it up. But it was literally the very last scene. I did enjoy Homelander's reaction to it. I do think the son being there is scary. I do also think though that what's his face, Butcher, like some of the choices with the son that he made during the show, I obviously don't agree with it, but it's one of those instances where you kind of watch like a horror movie and you're like, dude, don't you know what happens if you try to run for the car, or like if you don't run for the car, or if like if you're in a horror movie and then people are like trying to get out of the house kind of deal, and they just run right to where the killer is, or they do something like really stupid, like they're always going to trip and fall or something like that. It was one of those things where when Butcher was mean to the kid, I'm like, dude, the kid has superpowers. Like, why would you be mean to why would you push away the kid from you, who is now the father figure he doesn't have? And then why would you also, at the end, not allow Soldier Boy to remove both their powers? Like, that was the one thing I didn't understand at the end, where Butcher's like, not the kid. You got to get the kid out of here. No, remove his powers too. Like, they don't die from this stuff. They get their powers removed. Like, that's the whole point. Then the kid would be normal.
Well, I mean,
Ish.
he typically explodes when he does that and kills everyone in the vicinity. Like
Except no one died.
Herogasm. Huh?
Oh, I guess, yeah. All right, you got Herogasm.
No.
Yeah, all right. I guess, yeah, he did end up.
And he did it a couple of times in the middle of the city, which is why he was a threat in the first place.
The only question I have with that then is how the hell did Maeve survive then?
That's I don't know.
That I thought was a little like she should have died.
She might have thrown him out the window and then landed, and then he blasted her, and then
yeah,
and then she lost her powers. I don't know.
Yeah, that was.
I'm just saying I'm not saying it would have worked, but I mean that was probably Butcher's concern for the kid.
Yeah.
That once his if his power is taken away, and then there's small yield nuclear explosion that happens right after that, he'd be incinerated, like the Wonder Twin ripoffs.
Right. Oh, true. Very true. All right. So I'm glad you straightened that out for me. But even to me, I sat there saying, that was, obviously we wouldn't have a show, obviously if that happens. But the fact that Maeve survived, the fact that Kamiko survived, then it becomes, well, the kid would have survived, Butcher, because clearly they've got some plot armor on them.
Butcher's not to know he would have survived.
No, I know.
Because nobody knew that Maeve survived until
I was being facetious, obviously.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
What was your take on it?
I mean, I've told you my take on it. I think I like the show. I think it's a one note. I think it's one gimmick.
Do you actually like it though? I don't think you. I feel like you
I
always
didn't say I don't like the show. I'm not enamored with it. I don't think it's a stroke of genius, everything I see, because it's not really, in my opinion, that hard to constantly be subverting your expectations with hedonistic, violent subversion.
Mm-hmm.
And so like everything is kind of one note. Every vile possibility is taken to the maximum. And there are kind of they try to fit in subtle nuances to characters, like A-Train apologizing, but then moments later it's kind of he's back to his old tricks again or whatever. It's like characters learn, but they don't really learn, because it has a very 90s motif to it, where every episode, even though these are through-line episodes, every episode kind of starts again, or every season, not so much an episode. Every season starts again from square one. It has a reset. So we can't really take away Homelander's powers, because there's no show without Homelander.
Yeah, I know.
Without Homelander, we can't really do it. But it's like Gilligan's Island. Like if we get off the island, the show ends. But we have to keep trying to get off the island. That's the premise of the show. So we have to keep trying to kill Homelander. And so, like, I think, all right, so they hung a lantern on it by Soldier Boy saying, "What are you doing, man? It's like everything you want is about to happen, and you're just not going to take it."
Yeah.
And it's a growth moment for Butcher because he does have morals. He does have
Mhm.
he does have. But again, it's kind of a out of the blue growth point for him because he doesn't mind melting his own brain with temporary
Right.
V, and he is pretty much hardcore. I don't care about the consequences all the way up until the moment he's about to get what he wants, and then suddenly he cares about the consequences.
Right.
So I that was, and I think in that show, and the show is pretty clever about like hiding its formula. I think that was the most obvious they were at following a formula, that
Hmm.
season finale.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see that.
because I mean, everybody, why wouldn't Homelander just kill Butcher right after that?
Right.
You know, if Homelander is Butcher is definitely a threat to Homelander, and now Butcher has temporary V, so he can be comparable per how whatever Homelander thinks. Why wouldn't you just end that guy? Why would you walk out with your son at the end of it as though there's
Right.
a détente or some kind of temporary understanding amongst them? But I
Right.
mean, it's fine. It wasn't so egregious that we didn't get near. We're not even near Game of Thrones season 8 territory, and like, why
No.
did that happen? But I'm thinking the problem I have with the show, not the problem with the show. So
Mhm.
let's just differentiate. The problem I'm having with the show is I can see the formula, and the formula gets old after a while if you're working on a formula. But as long as people love it, and as long as people keep calling it genius, and I'm not here to tell them that they're wrong, that it's not genius, it's genius as far as they're concerned, then it'll keep going, and it's fine. It's no problem.
It's doing so well. They actually have spin-offs. So I mean,
Yeah,
you're going to
good for
get
them.
more.
I mean, their animated spinoff, their original animated spinoff this year didn't really make waves at all. Nobody even
Right.
knew it existed. But they're going to do more, so we'll see. We'll see
Yeah.
how it works out. I just wish it was. I just wish it branched out a little bit. I
Mhm.
wish it added a little more to the mix than it's adding. But it is what it is.
I wish the comic book was actually more palatable, believe it or not. And I love Garth Ennis and I love Derek Robertson. The comic book is nowhere near as good as the show, though. Like in terms of just and don't get me wrong, I get it. The show has certain advantages, but I'm a comic book. I love comic books, so to me, like the Watchmen movie is a fine attempt at an adaptation, but nothing beats the graphic novel. So I'm not coming to you from a point of, well, there's no way the TV show could be better. Like I'm enjoying, and I'll give you a great example. I'm enjoying Umbrella Academy. I'm enjoying both equally. I'm enjoying Umbrella Academy, the graphic novel, in a
No, it's a
completely
really
different. What's that?
It's a really well the Umbrella Academy comic book was a really well done comic book,
Yeah.
and innovative and groundbreaking in and of itself. And the TV show is doing its best, and I think succeeding to a large degree in being its own kind of thing,
Correct.
being its own groundbreaking kind of thing.
Yeah.
The problem I've had with the Boys comic book is it's kind of anti-comic. It's kind
Right.
of like it.
Oh
It
yeah,
takes
it's his
it
problems
takes
with the industry altogether.
yeah, it's got issues with the comic book genre in and of itself. It's got
Mhm.
problems with the industry, and it's kind of a fu to the
Right.
whole thing. And so now you're turning it into a show that's kind of an allegory and nobody really understands allegory, And it's the comic book was a satire of the industry,
Yeah.
and the TV show theoretically would be maybe a satire of the DC and the Marvel television universes, but it just keeps trying to morph itself into its own thing, and it can't really be more than a satire. It never achieves more than it's trying to achieve,
Yeah.
and it keeps threatening to achieve more than it, but it doesn't really succeed, in my opinion, in my
Yeah.
feelings. So, I don't know what to say about it. I don't think it should go away. I don't think they should fix it. I don't think they should, I know they could do whatever they wanting. That's my personal opinion on it.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Should we defend Thor: Love and Thunder? No, I'm just kidding. What do you think about The Boys? What did you think about San Diego? We're gonna wrap that all up. Are you guys excited for it? That was All Around the Rogue. When we come back, Mr. Daniel Leister, Metal Ice Cream, you're going to want to tune in. Amazing artwork, awesome stuff. And again, also free out there in Webtoons. So when we come back, Rogue Spotlight, Dan Leister. Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wave Podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wave Podcast.